Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gail Morgan welcoming you to the Libertarian Counterpoint's Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. You've heard their point, now listen to the counterpoint.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. We are coming to you on November 3rd, 2021. It is the day after the elections in a few states where some very interesting issues emerged, and we'll try to talk about it just a little bit in a little while. We are 9 months into the Biden administration, and Joe Biden is still trying to figure out where he's at or what room in the White House he should even be speaking from. I don't know if he'll ever figure that out. God, I wish him all the best. God bless him. Anyway, let me introduce our panel. In my upper left-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. In our upper right-hand corner is our champion of choice, Jason McPhee. And I am your host, Leon Brathwaite, the last word in liberty. Sometimes they call me the word because I speak too much. No. But as I said, we had an election in several states, and there are some interesting results that some of the results are still coming out. Some votes are still being counted, but we are seeing some things that are emerging that we really should talk about. In Virginia, a political nobody ever knew this guy before, won the governor's race, a gentleman by the name of Glenn Youngkin. He beat Terry McAuliffe, who used to be the governor of Virginia, and it was about a 2-point victory. But McAuliffe at one time was leading by 8-9 points. He was considered a shoo-in to win, but he did not.
Was that in a poll?
Yeah, he was. Yes, in a poll. He was 8 or 9 points ahead in a poll.
Predictions are hard. Predictions are hard, especially about the future.
I'm pretty good on those predictions about the past sometimes.
But what happened also in Virginia, the lieutenant governor also won, and that was a Democrat-held seat that went to the Republicans. The attorney general also went Republican. In New Jersey, another politically unknown person, even though he had a little bit of background in their state legislature. Right now, he is running against an incumbent, Phil Murphy, and right now the race is too close to call. And Phil Murphy at one time was leading by something as much as 20 points at one time. In Minneapolis, they had on the ballot something for a ballot to defund the police and to reimagine the police, I guess. That was voted down. But what is happening here? And one thing I forgot about Virginia, the lower house seemed to be flipping to the Republicans. It's not yet settled, but it's looking that way. But what is happening here, I think, is the backlash, which I spoke about some time ago. I think parents are finally fed up. Whether it's the schools, because of the mandates, schools were closed for a year and a half in some cases. Now they have the vaccine mandates, they have mask mandates. We are seeing people protesting out there. The issues of critical race theory, we are seeing people in Loudoun County in particular, it's like ground zero for these objections to the critical race theory being taught in the schools. There are so many things that are going on, but I believe this is a backlash that is beginning to show itself, and it looked like the Republicans are going to benefit from the backlash. So, what do you guys have to add to this?
Tim, do you want to? Oh, Tim, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I was. There we are. Sorry about that. I was just going to say McAuliffe probably shouldn't have mentioned that the parents shouldn't be voicing their opinions. And he's worried that they were going to come in and pull out all the textbooks on math and history, I guess, or maybe worried they were going to take out the Keynesian economics books that the third graders were studying. That's a joke, bad one. But yeah, so, he shouldn't have probably said that kind of nonsense. I mean, they were worried about the sexually explicit stuff the library happened to have, the school library, and that kind of thing. So, once again, somebody was completely off base and it just didn't know what he was talking about there. Didn't know the real crux of the issue at hand, and somebody else did, and they won, whether they're unknown or not.
Indeed. Good point. Jason.
Well, what I'm hoping this is I'm hoping it's not just a win for Republicans. It's a win for Republicans. Okay, it's a win against Democrats, so that's always great. But as far as the actual issue that I hope people take away from this, what really sunk the Democrats in this, for the most part, I think, is the school issue in Loudoun County and some of these other places, and the idea that there were things like, sexual assaults going on that the school board was lying about. There was issues of essentially critical race theory, or essentially race obsessive teaching, I guess, a focus in the teaching, that kind of stuff that was going on inside the classrooms, which was really making a lot of people uncomfortable. And I hope people don't walk away with this with the idea of, well, we just got to get Republicans in there to fix everything. Yeah. I hope that the real push is for school choice, because that's what you really want. Some idiot like McAuliffe comes in and says parents have no business questioning what teachers are teaching in there. No, that's exactly what we should be doing. That's exactly what the problem is we need competition. We need parents trying to figure out where's the best place for my kid to go, and not being constrained by a zip code to where they need to go. They need to have a good competition of both private and if somebody wants a public school, great. Private and public schools competing with each other, and let the kids go where it seems like in their best interest. Because what they miss the point is, this is the problem with a lot of these lefty central planners. They think there's one size fits all solution. They think that there's something, that a value they have that everybody else needs to have. And the problem is we're all different. And there's lots of kids with different needs out there, whether it be developmental needs. Maybe some kids want to focus in different areas with their education. Maybe the arts, some people STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, that kind of thing. There's all kinds of different ways for kids to excel. Maybe some kids want to go into sports or music. And the idea is this one size fits all, and whatever the teachers union tells us. And I hope this was a rejection of that. I hope that's what we're seeing.
Well, one of the things that came out of the Virginia race, and I absolutely agree with you, Jason, that one of the things that came out was that this push towards school choice, and I was a little bit heartened by the fact that when Glenn Youngkin gave his acceptance speech of the win, he did mention school choice. He did mention the greater number of charter schools being built. Well, that's only in Virginia, but we would hope and pray that this is a beginning of a movement throughout the country where we can find kids having more choice. Well, parents, I should say, having more choice in where to educate their children. This is my hope and my dream, and I hope this is just the beginning of this movement.
And it's not just the parents either. I mean, because I have kids and I have at least one of them who's high school age. And when they get to be that age, they want to say as well in where they want to go with their education. And that's something for both the parent and the kid to be involved with, trying to figure out how they were going to shape their future. And the idea that, no, your government's going to tell you what your future is going to be. I mean, it's just horrific. And in some areas, that's just a pipeline to prisons. So, I mean, it's terrible. We need choice.
Yeah, I think we need to destroy this zip code tyranny that is ongoing. That's what we need to do. We really need to do that. So, I hope so. But one of the issues that definitely came out of the elections though, was that this issue of the funding and reimagining the police, even though it wasn't a hot topic in Virginia or in New Jersey, it certainly was in Minneapolis, where defunding the police or reimagining the police, as they were calling it, was voted down. I was very glad to see that. Minneapolis right now, Minneapolis in particular, is going through a very horrific crime wave as we speak. And these idiots think this is the time to defund the police. But what we are noticing, I think, throughout the country is that these vaccine mandates are probably achieving the goals that the left always wanted, which was to defund and reimagine the police. So, in New York City, in Chicago, in other major cities, Atlanta, police officers and fire department people are now either retiring, resigning, or some case placed on leave because they're refusing to take the vaccine. So what do you guys think about this?
Okay. Well, since Jason is muted, I better go. You may want to unmute yourself when you're ready to talk there, Jason. On the one hand, I think that there is overfunding of the police, and usually it's when the federal government comes in and spreads their largesse around and brings them surplus military tanks and armored vehicles and weaponry and things like that, wherein every little nook and cranny in the United States, every little burg, every little hamlet has their own SWAT team, their own 20-person SWAT team, and these are things that are just way too much spending, in my opinion. There's a reason to have a SWAT team, in a large city, but not in some little, 40,000 population hamlet, little town somewhere on the outskirts of Ohio, is just too much. And so when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so they use the SWAT team to deliver some restraining order against somebody for some little minor infraction, and do you think
the vaccine mandates then will get the police ranks down to the right ratio of police population?
Yeah. Well, it's the distortions that government largesse has. Like that's kind of what we talked about in the first show. How these distortions are distorting incentives for police departments. I mean, everybody's human, and so they respond to these distortions. So the vaccine mandate is another distortion, and it's a distortion on you know, the opposite side of the spectrum. But you're, I'm going to have to give up here in a minute. But you are not improving things by having a mandate and then firing people, or making it impossible for them to work. Now, in some cases, I think a company can go ahead and have their own mandate if they're private. But these public organizations, they're just these government entities. they're on a slippery slope there when they want to do that kind of stuff. And so I'm generally against the vaccine mandates when it comes to government largesse. And that's, anyway, Jason, take it from here.
Jason, before I jump to you, one of the things I really wanted to bring up is that at the early part of the pandemic, when we did not have a vaccine available, police and fire and some of the other essential people, so-called essential people, I have a problem with the use of that word, but I'll use it now for our discussion. Some of these people, they worked they were not vaccinated then, and they were still working. They were still showing up to the job every day. But now that we have the vaccine, now these people are now a threat to our safety. So I do not understand the shift that have occurred, where they were heroes when there was no vaccine, but now they have become villains when we do have a vaccine. That I don't understand, but please go ahead with your comments.
Well, it's almost like where do you start? I mean, with these people, they're so illogical. So you got this anti-science group, essentially, the Biden administration, essentially trying to defund nurses, police, firefighters with this mandate of saying you got to get the jab or you're gone. And they don't quite understand that if the vaccine protects the person who gets it, right? There's a herd immunity issue that helps society in general, but the main person who gets protected by vaccine is the person who takes it. So this nonsense of Biden running around saying this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated is just unscientific and crazy. I mean, let's face it. I mean, Biden is the president of people falling out of airplanes, of people falling downstairs himself. People doing. I think he had an embarrassing moment with the Pope this last week too that probably isn't worth getting into. but I mean, the crazy stuff that just comes out of this guy, and the lefty media gaslights us to say, hey, this is a successful presidency. Withdrawal from a country and people falling out of airplanes. That's what success looks like. You just don't understand what the new normal is.
That's right. Well, I guess thank God we can call that success, because we would not like to see what failure is, right?
yeah, Biden failure. Oh my God, that's Halloween level stuff right there. We're out of the woods on that, I hope. But but it's just absolutely crazy. I mean, he's causing these shortages of these necessary employees. If you want to defund the police, the best way to do that is to eliminate stupid laws so we don't have as much need for police, right? That's the best way. That's the libertarian way of defunding the police. Sure. But if we're going to say we have property laws and property rights that need to be defended, then there's going to be some need for police out there. So, it's just insanity, and the idea that whether we have police or not, so many of these lefties are telling them don't do their job anyways. Just watch it burn, essentially. So I don't know. I guess they're fire watchers now, is what we've hired them to be. But
we'll watch all those mostly peaceful protests while they're burning down the precinct and the buildings behind us. That's what we'll do.
Yeah.
Tim, did you have anything else to add?
Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Tim.
You're muted, Tim. We're not hearing you.
Just wondering if anybody's been arrested for defacing and knocking down those statues throughout the United States. I see it's becoming less popular now, but I'm wondering, has anyone ever been arrested for doing that vandalism?
Only if you did it on January 6th.
That's right.
I think there was one person in North Carolina who was arrested for pulling down a statue, but she turned out to be some city councilor, and sometimes she was released, or something like that.
Yeah,
it's just
there you have it. All right.
But I did want to raise, out of these vaccine mandates, there's a philosophical question that I'm having some difficulties with, and I hope you guys can give me some clarity on this. One of the things in what is called the pro-choice movement, one of their big slogans is "My body, my choice." Fine, okay, my body, my choice. Well, I would think that should also apply with these vaccine mandates. It is still my body, and it should be still my choice. However, when a woman needs the right to kill the unborn, it's my body, my choice. But when anybody who's working in wherever they're working, it suddenly becomes, it's still my body, but it's not my choice whether I take the vaccine or not. So I'm having a little bit of difficulty with this concept. Could you please help me out here, guys?
Yeah, I guess the argument would be that, and you'd have to ignore the fact that having the vaccine does not make you unable to contract COVID or pass it on. So I mean, if we just look at the pass it on to somebody else thing, and then it's still possible to do that, to pass it on. So there goes the basic argument of mandating a vaccine to somebody that doesn't want to take it. I mean, I don't personally. I wonder why anybody would not get vaccinated when it's so safe and effective, and billions of people have been vaccinated. And so I'm kind of, wondering why people are still so against it. But hey, if they are, I'm not worried about them. I know that, if they are around people that also are unvaccinated, that they can, they can seriously hurt them. Now, if you're vaccinated, it's usually, and is the upper 90-somethingth percentile, a very mild case. Okay, so if you're protected, but you're vaccinated, then you don't have so much to worry about. Now it really is a disease of the unvaccinated, because it's the unvaccinated that are in the hospital barely breathing. And when I was in the hospital, that's everyone else was there who was there, as screwed up as I was unvaccinated. I had taken one shot, not enough. And there's probably underlying factors. I just had hip surgery just in the month before, or a month and a half before. And I had just come back from a grueling training, a 3-day training thing where I was up at 5 a.m. their time, 3 a.m. my time. So my defenses were way, way low, way down. Okay, so who knows what the factors were, but when I got into the hospital, I was the only one with one vaccine shot. Everyone else had 0 shots. So it is a disease of the unvaccinated, as far as getting sick to where you're in danger of dying. Okay, and people don't think about this because they just look at the case fatality rate or the case survivability rate. Stupid. It's stupid to do that.
Tim, let me interrupt here. Are you saying that the public health risk, which I will agree there's some public health risk involved in this, does the public health risk override the sovereignty of our bodies? No,
I'm not saying that. I'm because, number one, the public health risk is not changed enough by being vaccinated. Maybe you could make the argument, well, there's less people in the hospital taking up room that maybe somebody with cancer may need, and they're overwhelmed, let's just say, for the sake of argument. And so you could say that the cancer patient doesn't get treated because they got too many people in there unvaccinated with COVID. You could make that claim. So this poor cancer guy, he's out on the street, or even another COVID patient. You can make that argument.
Well, except that the reality was that they just turned people away, period, for coming in for other things. So they literally had people, they created a public health risk for all these people who had diabetes and cancer and all kinds of other problems. So
Yeah.
So in practice, central planning just always messes it up.
Right.
Indeed.
Yeah, especially early on. So, but now, I mean, things have gotten more of a handle on things. And it's because there's so many people vaccinated, I think.
Indeed. Okay, we are now at the point where we're going to have our Knuckleheads Noise Patrol. Jason, please take it away for us. At least you're going to read it through for us, please.
Okay. Well, this time Leon has found us a the Knucklehead Supreme. I guess he's not that hard to find. He's at the White House, so it's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel with this guy. But he was in an interview with Anderson Cooper recently. I'm not quite sure.
It was a town hall. It was in a town hall.
Town hall. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that interview where he stood there with his fist clenched, like he was having a seizure or something. Yes. Great part of the interview.
Maybe he was shooting a machine gun.
Yeah, maybe that, or he was trying to hold in gas or something. I don't know. But anyways. He didn't want to get labeled as like Eric Swalwell, serial gas passer on air. But anyways, so apparently he was asked by Anderson Cooper, should police officers, emergency responders be mandated to get the vaccine? And if not, should they stay at home or be let go? And so Biden said yes and yes. By the way, I waited until July to talk about mandating because I tried everything else possible. The mandates are working. All the stuff about people leaving, all the talk about these folks who are going to leave if they're mandated, not true. You got about 90-some% vaccination rate. And then he went on to mock people on freedom, and he said, he said, let's see what he said, I have the freedom to kill you with COVID. I mean, come on. Freedom. I don't know. But anyway, it's just rambling. But I mean, people are stepping away from their jobs in droves. We've got airplanes, Southwest, where pilots are calling in sick, whatever, in order to not get fired for not getting the jab, and then those that do come in are letting everybody know, let's go, Brandon. The friendly skies. Anyways, you guys have any thoughts on this whole thing?
Well, I mean, this guy should give this guy Knucklehead of the Year, okay? Because when we do our last show of the year, we have to give us some awards, and I think Joe Biden should get it for this one. The President of the United States mocking freedom in the United States of America. This guy is an idiot beyond an idiot. No wonder he's probably, I should excuse him. He's senile. What could I say? The poor guy. He doesn't probably even know. He probably was pooping in his pants when he was watching him with his hands, with his fists all clenched up, and didn't even know what to do. So maybe I have to be a little bit soft on him and don't be as harsh.
Brewing up some more policy he was doing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
well, he could have said, instead of this mocking freedom, he could have said, but tyranny allows me to kill you with a drone in any number of countries we have yet to declare war against. He could have mentioned that, but maybe that was just too close to home. Too close to the truth.
I guess.
The price of freedom and peace, that blowing you up with a drone.
Oh, yeah.
And we speak.
Anyway, remember, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness will take us to the promised land. With that, we must say goodbye. We have reached the end of our show. Thank you, and have a very nice day.